Hello everybody, I'm Plushy and welcome to Clay Bunny, a YouTube channel where I'm gonna show you a tutorial on how I made the Ink Demon from Bendy and the Dark Revival. Without further ado, let's get into it because this is a long video, guys. The head is probably the simplest part of this whole costume. It's very easy to make, so I recommend doing it as the last or the first thing. I made it the first thing and I kinda regret it because it made the head a little bit smaller, so I really recommend just doing it as the last part. Anyway, the head is really simple. You're just gonna take strips of cardboard and glue them together to create this sort of shape. Usually you would make a bucket head out of like foam or something. I didn't do that because I didn't have the foam for it. But I feel like cardboard is really something that can do the shape too, and when it's this organic look, it really helps that. I also added screws into the mouth to make it more movable, and then I glued it with some bolts and made it so it doesn't fall off so easily. Once I was done with that shape, I decided to move on to the horns. The horns were made once again with just cardboard glued to itself, to give it some sort of shape that I really wanted to keep it very organic, to keep it very in the place. I decided that it would be easier to just start somehow, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I wanted to kind of give up, but I went with it and decided that this cat look that I got was actually really cute. And so I continued and added some wire and aluminum foil, aluminum foil, alum. Anyway, tin foil glued together with some duct tape and hot glue to give it this look. I also added the wire, as I mentioned, into the horns to make them posable and just in the shape I wanted to, the dark revival shape. I then took some more duct tape and covered the whole head just to give it some sort of uh, just to get into a place where there will be no holes in the head, so we can just glue more materials to it later and make it more organic. This time I was really happy with how it looked and the jaw worked, so I decided to move more and I made the teeth for the demon. The teeth really helped solidify the look and it made it so you could really see what I was going for. I then started gluing random materials, random pieces of cardboard to it to give it some sort of rigid teeth shape that will keep the paper mache at place later. Paper mache was made with some old paper craft like cardboard and newspaper and some sort of labels that I had in my pockets. And after that, I was happy with the look. It was smooth and it had the shape it had to have. And we can move on to the next part that was really fun to make, which is foam clay. Foam clay is a material, it's an air dry clay that cosplayers use, and it really helps with smoothing and making the teeth and the head more in the style of the game. I really recommend having your tools and teeth wet, because foam clay doesn't stick to wet tools that go through it, but gets stuck to wood, to wet surfaces. So I really recommend keeping your fingers wet and the thing you apply to also wet, so it glues better together. Also, you can add big black spots where the ink is gonna be to have it as some sort of stencil. It's gonna help you to keep it in the shape. Then you can paint the mouth and just the visible parts that are gonna be there, and the other parts black to know where the ink is gonna be put, which was made with combining normal construction silicone and some acrylic paint. I then applied it with a brush or wooden spatula and smoothed it out with some isopropyl alcohol that really gave it that smooth, shiny, inky look, and glossed it. The hooves were really simple. I took some heels I got from a friend and then asked Eclipse Props on Instagram if he could 3D model the hooves to really fit my heels. He did that, and then I 3D printed it and got these. I had this dent in them that helped me to get the heels in perfectly without sliding away, and I glued them with some hot glue and IDA glue and contact cement and a lot of other glues that really just helped me to give it some sort of strong bond that will not leave me. The body was also again really simple. I took some foam and glued it to a skin-tight clothes that I had at home, like red shirt or black leggings, and started trying them on. I glued them with some hot glue and shaped it with scissors and knives and just tearing it a little. I didn't really mind the shape as I just really needed it to have the look of the ink demon, but I knew I would be covering it later, so I didn't really mind how it looked now. The hands were a relatively complicated part of this costume. I had to make long fingers that would be movable, and I decided to make it with these head toggle screws that have this anchor with spring inside of them. They're usually used for walls here in Europe to keep them really in place, but it worked really well. I got this idea from Miss Twisted, who made her Vi gauntlets from Arcane. I then put some elastic at the back of it to make it really stronger and started just attaching them however I needed to. I made this PVC pipe hand that was once again inspired by Miss Twisted, and then I started shaping it and sculpting with cardboard and paper mache, and then I applied the silicone again and made these amazing hands. One of them has gloves, so I sewn that together with the bendy tie and painted it once it was attached. I also needed the fingers, which I covered in black vinyl, which we'll talk about now. The black vinyl was definitely the hardest part of this costume. It was really just a little stretchable and was really uncomfortable to work with since it was sticking to itself and it smelled bad and it was really annoying and probably the worst thing I ever did when it comes to cosplaying. I wanted to drape it at first, but then I realized that that doesn't work, so I made some patterns together with the help of my siblings and then I sewn them. Sewing is really easy and this material didn't really do much pressure on the sewing machine, but I still had to sew some parts with my hand, which is something I absolutely hate, so there's that. Once everything was sewn, the legs and the body, I decided that there are gonna be some things that I need to fix up, which were holes and stuff that I filled up with hot glue and CA glue, and then I just painted them black, glossed them, and that's the end of the ink demon. I also painted the hoofs and painted the legs the same way. I attached a lot of hot glue gun there and painted it black and glossed it to make it really perfect and just as I needed to and as I wanted to. Well, the cosplay is done. I hope you all enjoyed this amazing tutorial that was so fun to create and so fun to make, and I hope we'll see each other in a very soon and near time. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching this video through and through, and I hope we'll see each other in the near time. Till the next time, bye and have a great life.